What's up, Console Tenno? In case you haven't heard, Specters of the Rail is finally dropped for PS4 and Xbox One. Now, this update's got a lot of things jam-packed into it, so I'm going to try and break it down as easily as possible in case you guys don't know what all has come out. Now, as you can see here, my crew bro is walking around the ship looking derpy as shit, so that's one of the things right there. Now, if we walk over to the marketplace here, the marketplace has gotten a complete overhaul. The display is pretty nice. Now, it's, as you can see here, it's got all the new stuff up front. We got the Okina, and then we got the Kebab stuff, and then we also have display packs and relic packs. Now, relics are the new keys, and we'll get into that later. Display packs are basically just a pack of a whole bunch of kind of like picture frames that you can put up on your wall, and then choose artwork from the codex to place inside them and put them randomly around your ship as you please. And then the Kebabs, we'll get into that later as well. But a lot of people, when this first came out on PC, got confused because they thought they completely got rid of blueprints, where that's not the case. Basically, now when you want to look for a blueprint, you select the weapon you want, and then when it comes to this, of course it's going to have the about and the ability to buy it with plat. But if you hit R1 or right bumper, it'll bring you to the build tab, and then you can purchase the blueprint through there. Now, with the new Arkwing rework, also came a new Arkwing. It is the first support Arkwing. It's called the Amisha Arkwing, and basically its first ability is kind of like Nova's Null Star. Basically, it summons a bunch of drones to fly around it and absorb damage. Benevolent Decoy creates a beacon that draws in enemy fire. It's kind of like a bullet attractor for mag, but it attracts all the enemy's bullets and then pulses out healing to nearby allies. Then Warding Grace, basically it renders all allies immune to status effects, so it's pretty nice to have around if you have an Xmas around or something like that, which now exists in Arkwing, just a heads up. And then Vengeful Rush, all damage taken is transformed into energy. So basically it's kind of like an energy siphon on crack. So it's a pretty nice Arkwing. I've played it quite a bit on PC and I enjoy it a lot. And honestly, all around what they've done with Arkwing has been pretty enjoyable. Now next up we have the Singus. This is a burst fire weapon for the Arkwing. It does a little bit more slash damage than puncture or impact, but basically it's all the same right there. I have not had the chance to use this weapon yet, but it looks pretty nice so far. And then also you have the Agkusa. This is the new Arkwing melee weapon. It's a hooked blade, and obviously it does puncture damage more than anything else because of the hooks on it. I haven't had the chance to use this one either, but it looks really nice and I can't wait to try it out. Alright, now we have the Syndicate Changes. If you go into your Syndicates here, you'll notice now that instead of Arkwing weapon parts dropping from Arkwing missions, you can now buy them with Syndicate standing. Now these are split up between all 6 syndicates, so you are going to have to trade to get a full set. So if you have a buddy who's in the opposite 3 syndicates of you, or 2 syndicates or whatever, it now is the best time to like trade back and forth to get full sets. Now if you don't have a buddy, unfortunately you're going to have to deal with trade chat and the BS that goes along with it. Also, key packs got turned into relic packs, and you can now buy these sculptures, as you can see here, which I've already bought one and I'll show you what it's like placed. Alright, to get your sculpture you just purchased, basically you just go into the pause menu, you go down to equipment, then the landing craft, then place decoration like a noggle, and then you have your sculpture right here. So just, as you can see, they're pretty small, so they're not really worth 50,000 standing, but if you want to, you know, place them instead of purchasing a noggle or something like that, by all means go ahead. So I'm just going to place mine right there because why not? And as you can see, I also had some of those display things, so we might as well just pull one of them out and place it down somewhere. So let's figure out where we want it to go. That's kind of clipping on there. So let's just put it right there. Look at that, what a beauty. And see, if you don't like the image there, or you don't like the way it's centered, you can change the way it's placed. And if you don't like the image that's on it, you can swap the image with other codex art that's out there. So let's just, let's see here. Let's go with that one. And we'll place that one. And voila, it's placed. Alright, now this is one of the bigger changes to Specters of the Rail. Basically, they've totally redone the star chart. As you can see here, they've got all the planets here. This is where you'd start out if you were a beginning player, and then you'd branch your way to, as you can see here, to Venus. And you would go to Venus, and then you would have to complete the Mercury junction in order to unlock Venus, and then go through there, and so on and so forth. And that's pretty cool. The junction basically has a boss at each one, and each junction offers something different. As you can see here, Mercury's junction offers the quest Once Awake, the Hell of the Kubro quest, the Boltor blueprint, and the 1000 salvage. Now, like I said before, all the junctions offer different items, and we'll get to that. But as you can see here, the VOIID now has its own area, and you can go to the VOIID without using a key because keys no longer exist. There are now relics, and to use a relic, you go to the Void Fishers tab here, and you choose which one you have. And if you select, say, that Void Fisher, then you want to select the relic that you want to use towards the Fisher mission. Now you can choose to go play the mission without a relic, but you won't be able to pick a prime item at the end of the mission. All you will receive is void traces. And in order to be able to use void traces, you got to go here to the Mars junction and unlock the relic segment. And I've already completed all the objectives for the junction here, so we're going to go ahead and do it. Alright, so now that we're at the junction here, it's got this little smoky, steamy pathway you can go down. And it'll bring up this chart right here, and if you don't have everything selected, you won't be able to select Confront Spectre, but since we have all 4 objectives complete, we can now kind of take down this force field or whatever. In this case, it's going to be Frost. Now, I don't recommend dilly-dallying around with this guy because he will do Avalanche and kind of mess you up pretty quick because you get stuck in Avalanche for a really long time. But as you can see there, it took him out pretty quick. I don't even know where his body went, to be honest with you. He just kind of flew away. But this is one of the earlier Spectre fights, so he is going to be really easy to take out. Now, the farther along you go, the harder they get. But once you defeat him, then you hit this solar rail right here, and this unlocks the next planet. Alright, now that we got the Void Relic segment, we can place it in here. We install it. Let me install it, please. Thank you. I was kind of scared there for a second. Wasn't sure if it was going to be buggy or not. Alright, now that Ordis has stopped talking, we can actually show you what's going on here. Now, as you can see here, we have relics, and each relic shows what items they drop, or what items they have a chance of dropping. And when you get void traces from these missions, you can then refine these relics into exceptional, flawless, or radiant. And basically this drops the chance of getting the common items and ups the chance of getting uncommon and rare items. So basically you can do that with any of them as long as you have the void traces to do so. And basically the amount of void traces you can hold depends on your mastery rank. As you can see there, I can hold 1000, and I currently am a mastery rank 18 on this account. Another change to this star chart is some of the bosses got moved to different planets. Lieutenant Let Krill used to be on Ceres, but now he's on Mars. So that means when you defeat the Mars boss now, you get rewarded frost parts. The Sergeant used to be on Mars, but now he's been switched to Phobos, and now you go to Phobos to get mag parts. And then now you go to Ceres in order to be able to get Trinity parts. Alright, so let's talk about getting Kavats. Now if you're not wanting to spend plat, this is how you get Kavats. You go to the Orokin Derelict, and basically what I do is I run Orokin Derelict Exterminates, because captures are kind of hectic with the cats and they oftentimes end up dying before you can scan them. So Orokin Derelict Exterminates are usually the best option for me. Alright, so as you see there's a wild Kavat. We'll kill that enemy real quick and then we'll scan this Kavat. And basically that's what you gotta do to get the Kavat genetic code. You just gotta do that over and over and over again. And you kinda gotta race against time, because the Grineer and other enemies like the Infested will try and kill them. So you gotta kinda just quickly run through, scan them, and then kill them. Now if your Helios scans them, they will not drop genetic code, so make sure you scan them with a scanner. It can either be your Codex scanner or your Synthesis scanner, so make sure you choose one of the two, and make sure you don't have your Helios on, because it'll just be a wasted trip if your Helios ends up scanning all the Kavats. Alright, so once you've scanned all the Kavats you could find and you complete the mission, if you're lucky at the end of the mission, in your item rewards there will be Kavat genetic code or more than one. In this case I only got one. The RNG for it is a bit iffy to say the least, because I had to play 5 missions in a row in order to get this Kavat genetic code. I actually got the Kavat incubator segment blueprint before I got a Kavat genetic code, so that was kind of shitty. Now if you're wanting to build the Kavat genetic code, you go into miscellaneous here, and as you see you need 10 Kavat genetic code, 1 argon crystal, and then 120,000 alloy plates. Now as you can see there, it's a bit of a grind just get that segment, and if you think it ends there, you're wrong, because you need an additional 10 genetic codes in order to breed a Kavat. Now if you can't be bothered to farm the genetic code for the Kavats, or you just can't wait, there is a Kebab Starter Kit. This comes with 10 Kavat genetic code and incubator power core and DNA stabilizers, stasis slot, things like that, but it does not come with a Kavat incubator upgrade segment. So essentially you're going to have to buy 2 of these if you're wanting to build the incubator upgrade segment and then have a cat to breed after that. So it's going to cost you at least 190 plat, and then if you rush the incubator segment and then the Kavat itself, it's going to cost you even more. If you go to the Codex here and you go to the Universe tab and go down to the bottom right, you'll see an icon saying Fragments. Go to this and you'll get a bunch of these question mark boxes with planet names underneath them. Basically when you play on a planet's tile set, you have the possibility of finding a fragment on this planet, and scanning this planet with the Synthesis or Codex scanner will start to unscramble a picture, as you can see here. Now completing these, they will tell a little tidbit of information or give a little bit of background story, and it's actually quite interesting to see what some of them have to say. Now in case you're wondering what the fragments look like, the Cephalon fragments that is, basically you can find them throughout maps. This is what they look like, and we'll pull out our Synthesis scanner here and we will scan it, and that is how you get it started. Alright, so Arkwing got a massive overhaul for its movement system here, and it's honestly a bit derpy, because as you can see here I'm doing like circles right now while trying to shoot that guy, and I'm just honestly trying to aim at the guy, and it's just, yeah, I don't know, it's when you're boosting and you're trying to shoot stuff, it doesn't work out very well. So basically you gotta halt your boost, which means you can't be as mobile, which means you get hit more often, and then you gotta, you know, take the hits and then hopefully be accurate enough or do enough damage to then destroy the enemies. Now granted, I'm in a low level mission, so these guys aren't really doing too much to me. As you can see there, I'm going sideways, and then we can go upside down and all that good stuff. You can get a bit dizzy doing that. So I feel like it's a step in the right direction, but it's a bit rough, I guess you could say. Alright, so last up on the list, we got the Necros Rework, or touch up, or revisit, however you want to look at it. Basically, his prime frame is coming out, his prime version is coming out next week. So usually when a prime frame is coming out, they usually look at their abilities and see if they need any reworks or tweaks to their abilities at all. And they decided to tweak Desecrate and Shadows of the Dead a bit. Now with Desecrate, you used to have to spam the ability, but now it's become a toggle ability. Now this is a good thing if you're playing solo, because it was really hard to kind of manage desecrating and killing things at the same time. But now if you're playing with a group and they wanted, say, a designated Necros who would just desecrate while everyone else would kill, that's not as good anymore, because basically you desecrate at a slower rate now. You can't just spam it. It's at a set rate, and it's quite a bit slower than if you were to just spam desecrate. So some people aren't too happy about that. And then you have Shadows of the Dead. Basically, they lowered the amount of shadows that you could have to 7 due to performance issues with memory, things like that. So a lot of people are mad about this because there's an augment that can link the shadows to you, so that any damage you take, the shadows like absorb 20% of it, I believe it is. And so that affected a lot of people's builds. Now, they did reduce the amount of shadows you could have, but they also increased the health of the shadows. So they might not take up as much space or create as big of a diversion as they used to, or distraction, but they are still present there. And I mean, they're tankier now, and I believe they deal a little bit more damage as well. So alright guys, I think that about does it for this episode. I'd like to thank you all for checking out my video and sticking around for the whole video if you decided to, see it through to the end. I know there's a whole lot of information in here, and hopefully you learned some stuff you might not have known already. And I hope to have another video out real soon.